I'm Yuen from the Faculty of Education, the University of Hong Kong. In this video, I'm going to talk about Content and Language Integrated Learning, CLIL Pedagogy. First of all, what is Content and Language Integrated Learning, CLIL? As its name suggests, CLIL is a dual-focused educational approach in which an additional language is used for the learning and teaching of both content and language. And in CLIL, both language and the subject have a joint role. This definition implies attention being paid to teaching both the content and the target language, for example, English. More and more researchers have argued for more explicit instruction of language, especially in contexts where students' exposure to target language is limited to CLIL classrooms. In general, the rationale behind integrating content and language teaching is that language learning can be facilitated by the meaningful communicative context provided by content subjects. So content and language should be integrated, but the question is how to do so in real practice. As Dr. Prof highlighted, the problem of integration in CLIL needs to be solved on the level of the different pedagogies. Teachers need to link up the pedagogies of the different subjects like mathematics, history, or economics with the pedagogy of language teaching. In what follows, I will synthesize some literature to explore how teachers can plan language and content integrated lessons. The first step for every unit or lesson planning is to set the learning objectives. For CLIL lessons, teachers need to plan both content and language learning objectives. When teachers do so, the most important rule is that the two sets of objectives should be closely related to each other, so that the language objectives are not imposed on the content subject lessons, which will become too language-oriented. To do so, teachers can first identify the content objectives and then set the related language objectives. How to set content objectives? They are usually about the concepts or knowledge of a particular topic in content subjects. They also covered cognitive skills involved in the subject. Teachers can refer to the Bloom's taxonomy for different levels of cognitive skills, including remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Language objectives may cover different levels or layers of language. We may refer to the genre 8 proposed by Lin to understand the different layers of language. Within a curriculum context, for example, different content subjects, there are different text types which achieve particular communicative functions, such as arguing for a point of view, explaining the occurrence of a phenomenon, recounting a historical event. To achieve these functions, the authors would use different vocabulary items, grammar features, sentence patterns, and also text structures. After analyzing these language features associated with the topic concerned, teachers can set the language objectives. To set the objectives for CLIL or content-based lessons, Camerata proposed the Content Language Literacy Integration Framework. This framework consists of 4 sets of objectives, and each set has different components. For content objectives, they include the knowledge targeted, cognitive skills involved, and the activities. For academic literacy skills objectives, they include literacy skills related to complete the task, textual materials used, and written or oral academic production. For content-related language objectives, they refer to the functions that students perform with language, some grammatical structures, and vocabulary items. And for the literacy-related language objectives, They include the language involved in reading, listening, writing, and speaking. The arrows in the framework show that these sets of objectives are interrelated. Let me use the examples taken from Camerata's work to further illustrate the framework. This is a topic about air pollution. For the content objectives, students will be able to identify key pollutants related to air pollution by interpreting data from 3 air quality indexes and completing a graphic organizer requiring them to compare and contrast information. For academic literacy skills objectives, students will demonstrate targeted mastery in reading and writing by identifying and describing the role of key components of an air quality index included in the 3 online air quality indexes, so as to later be able to give a personal opinion regarding the impact of car emission on air pollution. For the content-related language objectives, students will describe information found in air quality indexes by using the present tense, third-person singular, and adjectives, with words, phrases, frames such as "today the air quality is." For the literacy-related language objectives, students will use conjunctions showing cause and effect to provide a convincing argument when developing their final project. If the 4 sets of objectives are too complicated, teachers could start with 2 sets: content and language-related objectives. Here is an example. This unit was designed for grade 2 students learning science through English, and is about shadow. For the science-related objectives, students will understand how shadows happen, understand the rules of shadows, and understand the relationship between the strength of light sources and shadows. The English-related learning objectives correspond to the science ones. Students need to understand and use science terms related to shadows, such as light source, object, shadows. Students will also describe how shadows happen in a sentence, and they need to describe the result of an experiment related to shadows. After setting the objectives, teachers need to design instructional activities to help students to achieve the learning objectives. Here, I would like to introduce 2 relevant frameworks: the Contextualization, Awareness, Practice, and Autonomy (CAPA) sequence, and the Multimodalities and Textualization Cycle (MEC). I will briefly introduce them. For the CAPA sequence proposed by Professor Roy Lister in the context of Canadian immersion, there are 4 stages. In the noticing stage, students are exposed to the target language in the meaningful context provided by the content subject. In the second and third stage, students' attention is drawn to the target language features through awareness-raising activity and guided language practice. And in the fourth stage, students are given some autonomous practice related to the topic. Throughout the 4 stages, students' attention is shifted from content to language and back to content again, thereby integrating content and language learning. Again, I would like to refer to an example from Lister's work to illustrate the CAPA sequence. This history unit is for grade 4 students in French immersion programs. The content objectives is to understand the causes and effects of Jacques Cartier's 3 exploratory voyages to the New World. And the language objective is to consolidate students' knowledge of using past tense in French. In the first stage, students watch a video about the life of Jacques Cartier, and then teachers and students discuss the route of the 3 voyages and effects. In the second stage, students read the transcript of the video with instances of past tense coded. Then the teacher guides students to identify the instances and structure of past tense in French. For example, the use of different auxiliary verbs. In the third stage, students make sentences to describe important events or places related to the explorer, using some given verbs in the past tense, and teacher gives corrective feedback. Finally, students produce a timeline depicting the landmark events related to Jacques Cartier, including a legend for each key event, and teacher gives feedback on both content and language. The second framework is MEC, Multimodalities and Textualization Cycle, which is based on the teaching learning cycle from Sydney School's genre-based pedagogy. The MEC consists of 3 stages and suggests the use of different communicative resources, such as multimodal resources and different registers of languages in different stages. Stage 1 aims to create a rich experiential context and arouse students' interest in the topic. In this stage, multimodal learning resources such as video clips, pictures, demonstrations are very useful. For example, we can show students pictures, graphs, or video clips and prompt students to predict what the topic is about. And we also check how much they know about the topic. These pictures, diagrams, and videos are about the topic traffic congestion. We can also use mobile apps to illustrate some concepts. For example, a teacher used these mobile apps to demonstrate the theory of Brownian motions in science. In stage 2, the teacher tries to engage students in reading the academic text and then summarize the content with some notes. During this stage, different registers of students' first and target language can be used, together with visuals like graphic organizers and mind maps. To help students read difficult academic text, we will encourage teachers to do detailed reading with the students. These are some steps of doing detailed reading. First, the teacher identifies the part of the text, making sure students know its position. The teacher then paraphrases the meaning using everyday language. The teacher asks the students to read the text and underline any difficult words or academic vocabulary. The teacher elaborates the meaning on difficult vocabulary with examples and questioning. The teacher and students then discuss any academic functions, scientific specific sentence patterns of the text with the students. And after reading the whole paragraph or the whole text, the teacher identifies the paragraph or text structure, that is the organization of the paragraphs or the whole text. Doing their detailed reading not only unpacks the content and language for the students, but also demonstrates how to read for the students. For note-taking or summarizing the main ideas of the text, there are different kinds of graphic organizers that teachers can use. For example, timelines are very useful for historical recounts, while Venn diagrams or tables are typically associated with comparison and contrast. After stage 1 and 2, students will be prepared for the final stage, which is engaging students in contextualizing their experiences. In this stage, students are scaffolded to put their experience into a text, that is the process of contextualization. They are supported by concrete language scaffolding tools, such as vocabulary lists, key sentence frames, and writing prompts. This is a writing template we designed for junior secondary school students to write a one-sided argument. To answer the question about the most influential achievement from the period Renaissance, we divided the essay into 4 stages. Students need to state the argument, that is, the achievement they have chosen in the first stage, and then describe what it is and explain how influential it is. They also need to explain why this chosen achievement is more influential than other achievements in the period before reiterating their argument in the conclusion stage. With such guiding framework, students find it easier to organize their ideas and put them into a coherent text. This is a very brief introduction of CLIL pedagogy and different frameworks. Please refer to these references for more details.